Right. So you just use the headers.
So you write a little ACL that says, hey, I'm looking for this header or this one or this one or this one or this one. And then you can route to different backends to support that.
That makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, well, Caddy just does it automatically, but whatever.
Hello and welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast from increasingly tired and beardy validator teams. At least in my case, there's been a lot of culture going on this week.
Yeah, a lot of culture, actually. Yeah,
a lot of culture. Well, I mean, mainly from 1/3 of the current trifecta. Although I suppose one could assume that Schultz is on vacation, won't dock swear.
Oh, is he? He's not coming.
Might be more beach based than museum based, but presumably some culture will be happening there as well. So actually, I guess half of the show has been engaging in culture, while half of the show has engaged in degeneracy, presumably for the remaining for the 7 days since the last show. So yeah,
nothing like building a new deck for 12 weeks of your life and then celebrating by leaving the house. Going on vacation.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Remember you
right. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like a reference to something else. No, it was literally. I was about to say that the light is very weird where you are, and then I've just realized that's probably sunrise, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got the window open, and there's actually a ray of light directly in front of my face. So if I like put my face into it, I just get the
fucking.
It already feels like, so it's August here, which is like supposedly summer, but in reality is like autumn.
Is it?
It already feels
it's starting to cool a little bit.
Oh, autumn's August is usually
really?
fucked.
It's hot as shit here still.
So like it's pretty different. Like the UK is not like a big country. I guess it's quite long, but it's not like massive. But if in the south of England, like towards the coast, it's definitely the case that you get like a proper summer. That like August is summer.
Yeah,
and everywhere, and like the further you go north up the country, by the time you're in Scotland, it's like 15 degrees, and you might get some sunshine.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah.
So what? So when is Scotland summer? Is it doesn't start any earlier, right? So it's just short.
It gets midgy in like April, May. Is my understanding. But so I'm pretty sure. So if you somebody maybe before we'll get into Null's news corner in a second, but
there is no news corner. There's
somebody.
We get that itself is news.
Bail on us.
That itself is news, right? We'll talk about that. Yeah.
So somebody with better knowledge of Gaelic folklore can correct me on this one, but my understanding is that essentially two seasons in like traditional I guess Gaelic storytelling tradition, which is like winter and summer, and and my understanding is summer essentially begins on the 1st of May.
Okay.
But I'm not well versed enough to remember exactly when fucking winter begins. But so I know for a fact that
1st of June.
I mean, that's also why May Day in the UK. Like, I guess do you guys have May Day in the US?
We don't.
Okay, so May Day is traditionally like the beginning of summer. It's like it's like the end of the spring festivals. Although I suppose it's considered a spring festival weirdly, although it's fucking obviously going into summer, given this 5th month. But anyway, Scotland basically has, as far as I can tell, as well as the north of England, basically two seasons. You're basically descending into winter, or you're coming out of winter into summer. So you get this little chunk of summer, but then the rest of it's just just YOLO.
Is that another word for winter?
Whatever, man. Like I say, it feels like a very, very distant time that I saw some sunshine in the south of France. So YOLO.
Is that an artifact shirt?
This is an artifact shirt. Obviously,
I do like the rainbow. That looks really
good.
I
think it was a Pride month one, but it's very cool. I really like the color.
Yeah, I like it too.
I only really have T-shirts that have been given to me at conferences or
band T-shirts. Artifact even recognizing the public, like, hotness, the events. Pride Week.
The zeitgeist.
What?
The word you're looking for is zeitgeist.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Sure. Cool. Yeah. Good job, Artifact.
Good job.
Emerge Kings.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great t-shirt. Love the color. Don't have any other t-shirts in this color, so wear this fucking t-shirt all the time, which goes to show that Artifact are once again much better at branding and
all of us. Yeah, for sure.
Really all of it, to be honest. We actually do have a point on this on the agenda for today, but I'm aware that we have adherence to format is required.
That's what we are.
So, no, take away the news.
The news is that our news researcher quit after 1 week.
Did he quit, or do we just not receive our deliverable?
I believe that. So this is a two-pronged attack. I believe that A, we didn't pay our invoice, and B,
but it's not even the end of the month.
Received no deliverable.
It's not even the end of the month. What was the agreed upon cadence of said coin?
Well, there's no contract written.
Oh, well then what the hell? Jeez. Short fuse on the
angry. Maybe
in anticipation.
I can't find it.
In anticipation of the fact that we singularly failed to actually get our asses together on DAO, you may notice that the title of this podcast.
It's true. We are going to
by the end of 90 minutes, we can knock this on the head, lads. So
in true Cosmos, Rama is here saying that we're wrong, but in true Cosmos fashion, we should ignore all the facts and just continue down this diatribe of just him rugging us.
A second.
Right?
Well, I mean, I'm on the spreadsheet and I don't see shit in here.
We're being called out.
It's like
is there a clone of the spreadsheet?
It could be our moron.
Is the agenda what he's referring to? Did one of you do that?
No. But it says also. I thought that was all shit that we had left over. Oh wait, is he in the spreadsheet right now? Oh no.
Has Rama wait, is Harbor Protocol hack, was that 2 weeks ago?
Which one?
Was the Harbor Protocol hack 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Well, last week is last week, right? Because it has the friends.txt stuff that we talked about, and which is already fucked, right? That should be in the, I'm sure he's got that in the mysterious agenda that's not here.
So, well, because there are some points on the sheet for 2 weeks ago. So now I'm wondering whether Rama has actually delivered the news. But in true the day-to-day fashion, Peter, you've lost the news. It's actually, he's counted, rather than counting one forward for the week after last week, he's counted one backward. But so it's not a failure of basic maths, but actually in Australia, obviously, being on the other side, being in the southern hemisphere, the spreadsheet moves backwards. We had this problem with Null in the early days because we, in the northern hemisphere, see, we're on episode 76, but in the southern hemisphere, they would be, if strictly speaking, on episode 74. We brought Null to use the northern hemisphere classification.
Maybe another theory is Rama wants us to go back down to 1, and then we end this fucking show.
I mean, that's what it is.
The joke is 75, and then you go 74 down to 1, and then at 1, that's it. We're done.
Well, I mean, but the joke would still be on the listeners because that's still 18 months worth of content.
That's true. But at least there's an end in sight.
Yeah, I mean,
at least there's a defined ending. It's better than, I mean, what else can you do?
In the words of Jeff Rosenstock, nothing's forever, dude. So I really like remembering one-liners from people that nobody will actually have any frame of reference for. So you can just say, "Oh, in the words of," and it's like name, just like ungoogleable random name. It's like,
oh my goodness,
who is that? That part's not important. But if you put the person's name,
I see we're all clicking around the
74.
So
remember he didn't pick up on the whole friends.tech Twitter logins to whatever got posted as a gift.
Oh yeah, gist, actually, right? I've put that in my notes. Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
Well, I've bookmarked a I have this little notes thing here with the the Notes app on Apple. I can just share shit to it from Twitter.
Yeah.
So I make like a
Oh
little
wait,
extra
you can share it from Twitter.
share directly to Notes, on the
Oh, that's good.
iPhone. Thanks, Apple, whoever's in charge of
should-
that these days.
I think it's
look at that.
technically called X. Can we just
No, we can't.
X.com? They have now.
Nope.
Yeah, so Mummy Laura on Twitter has made a post regarding all of the pitfalls of friend tech, and it has a graphic on there called notfriend.tech. So yeah.
Flash.
But the headline is unmasking the truth behind friend tech, FT. FT operates like a Ponzi scheme under the guise of a social experiment, capitalizing on the recklessness of influencers. Buckle up. This is going to be a long one. And she goes through just a bunch of shit. The first thing being that the founders have launched other social experiments that don't really last very long on Twitter and Twitter-related things. So the 3 projects that would be their 2 previous failed experiments in this project have a couple of things in common. They all call themselves social experiments. They all have a pyramid structure, and they were all operated for a short amount of time before being shut down. So that would be the previous 2. But yeah, there is where is it? It's man, it's hard to find, but obviously there is the privacy issues.
I think last week we were saying, I forget what we had in the notes, but it was you could log in via like social network, right? But is this the one that they were asking for the mnemonic like in the wallet, or was that something else?
No, it wasn't that the
It wasn't that.
the Say airdrop.
Oh yeah, you're no, it wasn't say airdrop. No, they weren't asking for. Oh, actually,
Desmos.
Oh, Desmos, that's right.
Do you remember like it was like a shit howl that never shipped?
Yeah, well, that was a while ago, but I thought there was another one. I thought there was another one recently, and there was something else. But anyway, so right. So it's always good that this research comes out after everybody puts in, all their information into these fucking apps.
Well, I never used it because I opened the page and it told me I had to connect to something, and then I was like, "Fuck this,
Right.
I'm out."
Yeah.
And like, what is it based on Ethereum? I don't know. It sounded like expensive fees.
No, it's on Base, right? It's on Coinbase. It's on Coinbase's base.
Oh, right. Is it?
Base chain.
Okay.
Base chain. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I opened up and it was like web only, like mobile only, and I opened up the page, and then it all seemed very difficult, and then I had other things to do. So,
but the other, so that was just she was just shitting on, or whoever that was, they were just shitting on the overall thing. But I think what happened was that somehow somebody pulled something off where they ended up tying Twitter usernames down to actual wallet addresses, which is like, I mean, it's a breach. It's not the most end of the world type of thing, but whatever. It's not like.
Yeah, well, I think they pulled like the whole database.
Yeah, it was like 150,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
which is a significant number, by the way.
But then the flip side of that is like most of these networks that are currently working on chain, you're already tying an identity to a wallet. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, especially like we're tying IPF or IPNS and whatever else to a wallet, right? There's always like a couple of those.
It's kind of like shock revelation. It turns out this stuff was on the blockchain all along.
There was one of those in Juno too, if I remember.
Yeah, some fucking idiots that decided to be unprofitable by launching.
Should have added the Twitter integration. They would have been there.
Well, they changed their API, didn't they? And started charging you for it, like again, 2 weeks before we launched. So, like, if we'd launched earlier, we would have put in the integration and then got rugged by Twitter, so it wouldn't have fucking mattered. And
yep,
YOLO.
So anyway, so can we agree to not pay Rama since you put it in the wrong tab? Is that good enough?
I'm pretty sure
probably
it's
25%.
Probably wouldn't be in the spirit of things. I got to look after my ferret Aussies fellow over here.
I'm kidding. All right, what else we got?
Well,
Time Machine to 74.
First on the list, we've got the Harbor Protocol exploited for 250K of collateral. This would be their Comdex stablecoin, CMST. Currently, about 200,000 less collateral is being provided than CMST minted, 300K versus 500K minted. This is previously over collateralized coin. Well, it isn't anymore. Yeah, I mean, fuck, man, there's like a hack every day, right?
There is, yeah.
Although we don't really see like, so Comdex is a. What's interestingly different about this is that Comdex is in the Cosmos ecosystem, and it's pretty rare that we see like actually an exploit in the Cosmos ecosystem. So I'd be interested to know what the actual details are behind this being exploited. If it was like a vulnerability somewhere, or one of those dumb ones where someone just gave out the admin key.
Right, or there's a shared key that's in somewhere, right? Yeah, that's so funny. I can't even see if you actually go to the I see the tweet. The tweet is there. If I go to the actual Harbor Protocol Twitter account, I don't see that in the timeline. Is it because I'm a stupid fucking? Did they get rid of like time-based timelines in Twitter completely? Is that gone? Is it now all about this stupid algorithm or whatever the fuck they're doing?
I mean, I think that's been the case for many years.
Well, you used to be able to switch. Back and forth, right? After Elon got it, did he remove the whole regular? I just want to see a fucking time-based timeline. Like, why do
I'm pretty sure there wasn't a time-based timeline. You had to do that in TweetDeck.
Yeah,
there was.
You could just scroll down the timeline.
You could, but in the actual Twitter account, you could. It was always like it always defaulted back, but you could always select it. It was a pain in the ass, but you could do it. So anyway, I can't even find that tweet in their whole history here, which is crazy, going back to September of last year. So was this like did they say why? I don't see the follow up on this. Did they say like it exploited?
No,
like, do they know how?
It doesn't say. It just says from what we've gathered so far, the exploiters have used the following address to perform all actions.
Are they? Is this a contract that sits on Comdex? Is that what it is? Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was in a browser that wasn't logged in. That's why this was all fucked up. Okay. All right. I see. So they're losing. They have a couple addresses about where this came from.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, in the Harbor Protocol tweet, there is not a lot of information, but they say that they'll follow up with a post-mortem.
Yeah. See ya.
A detailed incident report. Dang it.
So
that sucks.
What was the value? What did they say?
200K.
Did they? 200K. Is it already gone? Like it's out of the pools and everything else? Or is it a value that they stole and it's sitting around, or it's already flushed out?
I guess they've sucked out that collateral through.
Nice.
So what was it? They had so it was in ST Atom, Luna, and Wrapped Matic vaults.
I see. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. And Rama says not probably
also
a contract
like 250K. Yeah. Like this sounds big in a bear market money, isn't it? Like fucking definition of.
Well, I mean, not compared to other ecos and other. I mean, it's small in the grand scheme of things. You're right, but still, yeah, $250,000. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, fucking like, do you remember like when this podcast started? Fucking Terra, like, like UST, how much went up in smoke? That was billions.
Yeah, for sure.
That was.
This would have been too if it wasn't for Terra.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, man. But those billions were fuck you money. This is like fucking paying for your noodles money.
It's all related, man. It's all related.
It's almost like it's an ecosystem of shitcoins, a cosmos of shit. Almost.
You're very negative on coins these last few weeks, I gotta say.
You can't just say that.
More about
not everything's a shit.
Even the ones that aren't at zero. Even the ones that do pay the bills,
because they are going to zero. Like
they're not going to zero. It's up 5% today.
Zero.
It's above a magic number that we want it to be.
These are our beloved small caps you're talking about, sir.
Okay. All I'm saying is that after a year of losing money as a validator business, I think, like on a number of the assets that we validate, it is understandable to get a little bit crabby about some of the assets perhaps not being Hey, so a fun thing happened. We
Yeah.
finally deactivated. It turned out we were running a passage validator that
Congrats.
I thought that we had deactivated some
Decommissioned.
time ago. Yeah, I know, right? You're just like, what the fuck? It turned out it was just running like a zombie in a random account. It wasn't in. It was in different.
Maybe that was that $16 on AWS you got invoiced.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah. We had a zombie. We had, because everything's segregated by various different projects and whatnot. It was just in a different account, and we were paying for it because it was. But we have a corporate account. We pay via invoicing, right? Convoluted, but for smaller amounts of money, they just bill your card still. If you don't pay it like within a period, they just go, we'll auto invoice it, fuck it. And that's been happening because you get like a deluge of invoices in PDF form at the end of the month, and you go like, and just escape notice basically for a few months. And it turned out we'd just been paying a few bucks every month for the server. So finally turned it off, and then PagerDuty and everything goes totally mental.
Yeah.
And still actually haven't been able to silence all of the alerts because one of them is written badly. We have like this absolute everything's fucked alert. But the way it's written is really bad. And essentially the passage box going has dropped it below a threshold. And it's just erroring. And it's revealed that alert was written wrong all along. As well as a bunch of other alerts that just obviously went off when we turned this box off and had just been, again, just not triggering because I had wondered, to be fair, I thought we had turned it off like months ago. But I was thinking, like, I don't remember disconnecting any of the data sources to our monitoring box. And I don't remember turning off any of the alerts, but I'm not getting any alerts. So it's probably fine. The answer was it was still just
going away.
Just
sign in.
trolling away in a corner, doing nothing.
The big question is did you unbond your?
No, he's got 9 bonded, 100% self bond. You would show up really well in these validator ranking scenarios.
Yeah, it didn't unbond because that would involve syncing. And anyway, they're doing a new chain, aren't they, or some? I mean, who fucking cares? To be honest,
No. So they're
fucking cares.
I assume they've relaunched the chain again.
They did.
But
they had
now,
I missed an upgrade today.
The funny thing is that did you say the upgrades today?
It was today. Yeah, I was in the car for 4 hours and I got an alert that it was down. I thought I staged that, but I guess then I realized it wasn't staged because they ran, I guess it was a non-breaking change at a block height. It was a non-breaking change at a block height. So they wanted the new version of the binary in the current folder, right? And so at that height, it would move forward. But anyone who was not in, I guess who didn't have that binary, basically stopped peering. And I couldn't actually. So my issue was that I got to the upgrade height, quote unquote. The binary it was peering, but it couldn't actually move beyond that block, which is understandable. I upgraded the binary, but then I couldn't find. Then it app hashed on every block because maybe it was the last block. I don't know, who the fuck knows, but I couldn't actually get through it. So I ended up actually pulling a snapshot and just getting it back going. So, but it was in the car for 4 hours, and I'm looking at him like and I was like, oh shit, because my fucking yakety sax went off. I told you this before, but my PagerDuty call number is yakety sax, and so yakety sax went off in the car, and I was like, oh fuck, what is this? And I was past it, like, oh, that's fine. Like I could drive for 4 more hours. It's fine. It's no big deal. I don't give a shit. Yeah. So anyway, when I got home, I had to fucking fix it.
I think a similar thing. Our monitoring is about to go off for Mars because I think we are literally bottom of the barrel. 75th in the Mars active set.
Yeah,
not long left, lads. I'm going to drop.
Well,
we're going to
no pulled out. He pulled out, and then I got pulled in. This was last week, and I was in there for like 2 days. I'm like, somebody's going to take this over, so I'm not even going to mess with it. Like I was pulling keys. I was like, I don't want to be in this fucking thing. I don't even care. Like, and it was like $9 on the thing, right? Like, who gives a shit? So I let it go, and then somebody actually bonded above me, so that worked out.
Yeah, somebody bonded above us as well. I mean, again, it's not much to bond above us. I don't know. I don't know what 20,000 odd Mars is worth now. $200.
Probably less than that.
$7.
I don't know what it is actually. I should.
20,000 Mars.
By the way, am I the only one that fucking hates Minscan 2.0? I fucking
No.
hate this.
We've already
I
covered
hate
this in 3
fucking
separate
site.
episodes.
Maybe
Really?
you were away that week where we bashed.
I might
on
have been. I think it's fucking awful.
You can just go to dev.minscan.io.
Let's see. I think I honestly I am such not a fan. I think it's a horrible.
Just
step
go
back.
to dev.minscan.io.
You have 4,400 Mars, which is
Fuck all.
$228. Yeah, you're right. $225. Congrats.
Bar mitzvah.
Nice. That server was on AWS for a while.
At 5%,
It was a R5A XL.
that seems like a bit over.
R5A XL. So for those of you AWS nerds, you're starting to do the maths in your head and you're thinking, that's a lot of RAM for a chain that doesn't have many transactions. Well, yes, as it turns out. You're also thinking, but Frey, hang on a minute. The thing that's really expensive, it's not necessarily the RAM. It's not necessarily the compute. It's the storage. How much storage was
the egress, right? You're paying more in egress, aren't you?
No.
Network out, I thought was the most expensive thing that you would actually have.
No, we do. It does cost, but much
storage
more
is cheap, right? It's not that much.
No, not on AWS. Because we're also not we're not like doing fucking virtual boxes. We're doing attached hosts, SSD volumes in Elastic Block Store, snapshotted, backed up, archived to Glacier. Lots of, in hindsight, additional redundancy that was not needed for shit chain.
Unnecessary. Yeah,
like massive over engineering for 3 nines, 4 nines, 5 nines uptime for corporate clients that really care about this stuff.
For percentage of the change, it doesn't really matter.
Well, because the thing is, like, actually, it turns out that, like, obviously, any downtime you have is because of fuck ups, wrangles, balkage around upgrades. It's not storage, right? It's not hard drives on the whole. You're using SSDs, so you don't get magnetic disks failing and stuff in the same way that, like, I remember in the bad old days. So I don't know, spending a lot of money on that kind of stuff. So anyway, in conclusion, like spending. I think the drives on that were 500 gig. EBS blocks, possibly bigger. Maybe a TV.
Or one out. I mean, honestly, at that, what happened to my focus? At that range for a whole year, you might be able to afford a Raspberry Pi to run it.
Yep. So, I mean, this is also part of the grumpiness, I think, is you're trying to, you're like,
hey, they're not all winners. All right.
Where's our burn rate here? And you're like, well, that passage box will be one of the,
I do need to go back and I need to take the axe to some stuff. I really do.
Yeah. So the funny thing, and why I was laughing my ass off at shutting down Passage is that just today the email came out that active validators will get an airdrop of 55,555 Passage.
55,555 packet each.
Package, yeah, each.
That's $2,800. Is that right?
I don't know.
That's what it is at a nickel. But I'm saying when all those drop, it's not going to be a nickel anymore.
Is a Passage worth something?
It was a nickel, wasn't it? Is that what I said? Yeah, it was 5 cents or something.
When? It goes on stream swap like at the end of the week.
Oh, wait, what the fuck was that? Oh, I was talking about Mars. My bad. I was talking about fucking Mars.
I think it was on
5,555 PASG. And it gets
on osmosis, so that the investors could liquidate previously. No? Did I imagine that?
Passage will be listed on Osmosis.
You're right. It's on stream. It's going to stream
following the launch.
That's right. Yeah. I was getting confused.
Stream swap on AUG 29th.
Have any of you guys done a stream swap yet?
I keep missing them. They're pretty fucking brief.
Yeah, me too. I tried it on. Was it not say? It was and Empower. I tried, and also on Quasar. I literally missed the fucking boat. And
I feel like what's a stream swap? Like,
I feel like the
Asking for your
OmniFlex one
question.
happened while I was asleep. Stream swap is like it's the new hotness when it comes to price discovery. So instead of like just the old can't remember what they called the old mechanism, where you basically they have a big pool of tokens and just buy them out of the pool, and the more you buy, the more the price goes up or down, up. And then, but it sort of also had a time varying curve to it as well. Whereas stream swap is you all basically pool your money into the stream swap, and you don't get the token straight away. But there is still like a price varying mechanism based on time, I think.
this
And
sounds
then
like exactly the kind of DeFi shit that you love, and that I'm like, don't get, not going to use it.
yeah, well,
I mean, your basic is. I thought it was kind of like you were pledging one token to help define liquidity pools up front, right?
so
that what it
they'll
is?
do like they can do it against a different token like Atom, but you're not defining the pool. Like it doesn't all of the funds raised just go straight to whoever the fuck put all the tokens in the pool to begin with.
Okay.
So it's like a one-sided pool, and people buy tokens out of it essentially,
Right.
over a period of time. And then, but I'm not sure. I think at the end of it, everybody gets the tokens at the same value, but you put money into it over time, and
Right.
that sort of determines the end value. But that's an interesting mechanism.
It's busy though. Like to your point, like like within minutes, it's done. Right. Like they get to that I guess it's a volume target, right? They're trying to get to in terms of number of locked, and that's it. It's gone.
Well, I thought it was a
Presumably
time
it's just
target.
bids, right? In that case, so people are just bidding on the asset, then averaging, then shipping.
No, like it's say
On a curve probably, but
so say they put a million tokens in there, right, of token X, then and then set the time period at an hour. If in an hour someone only puts in like 1 USDC and no one else puts anything in, then I'm pretty sure the one person gets the million tokens for 1 USDC.
I see.
Yeah. If two people put in a USDC each, then they get 500,000 tokens for 1 USDC each.
You're right. Like some of these, like Quasar Atom was 12 hours. Quasar Osmo was 12 hours. Flix was both, like Flix Osmo was an hour, and so was Empower Osmo was an hour, and they were gone like 5 minutes, right? Which I guess is the volume, or no, it's not. It's so you're saying your point is that it's open for the hour, so the more that goes in there, it just gets split.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
the price is determined by the total amount of like collateral that's put. No, well, the total amount of token 2 that's put in.
Oh, there's a stream swap Telegram bot. How degen is that? I'm in. Get me in there, yo.
Let's get this see on the go.
Anyway, the next on the list from our news researcher, Rama. This is one we both love. We haven't really talked about this before, other than briefly mentioned it and then just cringed and walked away. But this is the UI that we were talking about. Everyone was sort of tweeting about a little bit on Twitter a while ago, where you can put in like an address, a Cosmos address. I think that they've only got a limited number of networks at the moment. You got Osmosis, Cosmos Hub, and Celestia testnet. And basically you enter. Well, it's got a couple of different functions, but the one that everyone's talking about is the trail, and it creates like a map of transfer addresses in and transfer addresses out of a particular account in the IBC multi-chain world. So you can see, like, if you say there's an Osmosis account that someone uses for just general transactions, but you can see like, all right, so they're sending in tokens from Axelar and Juno and Chihuahua from these other particular addresses, and then you can click
Who
on those
built-
ones, see where
who
they're
built-
getting them.
Who built this? You know?
I don't know. It's called Range. I don't know who has made
Yeah,
it.
it's Range Security at Twitter. This looks like Todd built something like this too, right? Remember blockchain built.
If this was you, Todd, fuck you.
It could be. No, I remember he built the same type of tool, but I forget, he built it in like an app. It was like a specific, I forget what it was. It was like an analytics app, but basically allowed him to be able to show a his was more about the branching aspect of things. Like I started a wallet and I look at transactions between different wallets. I could trail things back. I think he kind of brought that out when we were going through the Prop 16 bullshit.
Jabby did it in a spreadsheet as well, and then just
Joe did it in a spreadsheet. That's right. And then Todd had like this. I forget what the app is. He'll, if he's watching, he'll probably tell us. But it was like a pretty cool thing where he basically brought a bunch of data in, and it just kind of built a visual around where things were going from X to Y to Z. So this is kind of the same idea, right? It's basically a trail of transactions across accounts to be able to tie ownership or maybe not ownership, but at least tie some sort of relationship between different types of wallets.
I was at a meetup the other week, or like a talk, and one of the people that was talking was just like some salesperson, effectively, from one of these on-chain analytics. Chain analytics, they've all got crap names. Companies, and they're like, "I know what you're thinking. This is terrible for privacy." Well, we're a member of the insert bullshit privacy alliance certification here. And so we actually care. We spend 20% of our dev time working on privacy related initiatives. And you're just like, great, go fuck yourself. What do you want, a fucking gold star? Fuck off. Like, what is the purpose of what you're doing? It's you just fucking wanking off to make a few bucks from like scared people that want to comply with AML. Like, it's just fucking garbage. The fucking half of London's owned by fucking Russian oligarchs and Saudi princes that like cutting up people that disagree with them. Like, do you really think that like the blockchain is the fucking, the real money laundering is happening elsewhere, lads, and the air cover for it is at a political and institutional level? Let's be real. Although, speaking of air cover, and speaking of oligarchs, and speaking of people who like to launder money, as of a couple of hours ago, I believe Prigozhin has had a sudden engine failure courtesy of the Russian state and is now an ex-dissident of the Russian regime. So, in the words of Omar from The Wire, if you come at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah, okay. In the words of Bill Clinton, no. Who was that? Who's the little guy with the gray hair? Who was the president? We got him.
George Bush?
Yeah.
It was Obama that said we got him.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was Osama bin Laden, and then Obama was like,
Obama was the one who said we got him. Yeah,
we got him.
That was the one.
Was it Obama? Yeah.
It was
Obama. When they went into the compound, that was Obama. But like George was standing on the fucking mission accomplished with the,
he was like,
we're done.
He was like, I finished what my daddy couldn't. Pew pew pew.
With the AK-47s.
I did Dick Cheney's bidding. Pew pew pew. Meanwhile, Dick Cheney's shooting somebody, and then that person's apologizing to Dick Cheney.
Rarma's all over this Range Twitter account.
Wild.
I don't like teams like this that have a product that joined 8 months ago that have no path to profitability and no team page.
Are we still talking about Prigozhin's plane being shot down? Because I'm confused.
No, I'm back on Range.
Back on Range.
It's back on stupid crypto.
Wagner Group.
I'm not a big fan.
It has
like, who is this?
And it's providing mercenaries to unstable African regimes, and then acquiring their mineral wealth, and then laundering that money through the city of London. It's really effective, actually, as a profit generating engine.
Wagner Group. Yeah, a lot of South African business going on there.
Oh, exactly. Well, like one of the most successful private military firms of all time was Executive Outcomes, which was it was basically the South African special forces that were in the bush wars in like Angola and stuff. And then after the end of apartheid, a lot of the military got reformed, and they just went, well, we'll just go be a massive paramilitary force all over, Africa and get loads of mineral wealth, and they did that. And
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what Wagner's doing. So they go and help governments in coups. They go and step in with governments in coups and protect assets from being, taken by the people, and then get contracts with the coup government, and then
sometimes topple that government if there's a better offer.
If the money's good, yeah, why not? As long as you get to keep the resource, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the plot line of Metal Gear 4-ish. I mean, Hideo Kojima once again predicting that life will be stranger than a Hideo Kojima game. But yeah, I really recommend, if you're interested in the history of private military organizations, the book Corporate Warriors by P.W. Singer. I've recommended it on this podcast before. Genuinely fascinating. Was written at the end of the 90s, pre 9/11, and literally every single thing in it came true. It's just like, hey, if we see these trends continue, a load of things are going to happen in geopolitics that are going to be really complex, and like literally all of them happen. You're just like, oh, yeah, I guess he did his research.
All right, so back on range. So one last thing I'll mention on range. Some of these things that are on here is I would never use. Although the alerting looks pretty handy. So there's things in the alerting where you can set alerts for a state change of a contract, which is like pretty interesting. Yeah, I signed in. They've got my details now.
Your deets.
My deets. They can now email me at fuck knows blockchain
at Big Balls Blockchain
.google Dick knows blockchain anyway.
.org. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's enough on range.
Oh, so I called out Rama before. So he was actually pulling up the wallet that came out from that Comdex exploit that we were talking about an hour and a half ago. So he was pulling the details of the age of that wallet, which is the Osmos wallet, and then came basically on ramp through secret and what came through there, as well as Axelar. That's kind of cool, I guess. I mean, it's good. I guess it's good from an exploit perspective. From a general, hey, let's go figure out who the fuck's got what. I kind of don't like it, but it is what it is.
That was range.
Yeah. So there, I'll put a link in that. I have it here. I'm not capturing links for shit because, typical. But I'll try to put. I have a link in the show notes to Romer's tweet related to the Osmos wallet associated to this Comdex exploit that we were talking about before, or Harbor exploit, I should say, not Comdex.
So the next item of news is the Neutron eats duality, and Adam Maxey's are not pleased is the headline here. So I haven't read ahead on this one. I did see it in Twitter, but I haven't read ahead in the explanation in the spreadsheet because I didn't know where it was, so I couldn't do that when I got up at 4:00 this morning to Discord, as Sir put it,
as usually do.
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh, is Ben Davis on the panel?
Is that a Adam Dow? Well, for folks who are listening, Ben Davis said we funded range in our last batch.
I think it's Osmosis.
Okay, I thought it was Adam. It was Cosmos, the AA Dow thing, the Atom Accelerator.
Atom Accelerator, isn't it?
It is Atom Accelerator, right?
Is it? Okay. Ben, can we get paid? Can we get a donation to the DAO?
The idea is laughable.
AA Dow, yeah. All right. So AA Dow funded part of range. Oh, that's cool. All right. I mean, it looks like a good tool. It'd be interested stuff like that. It'd be nice to know who's behind it, and like what's the long term. To answer your question about can we get paid, Ben Davis says for this ?
Absolutely fucking not. Hey man, we provide a valuable service at
What else do I
entertaining
get, I
people on
suppose?
Wednesday night.
So in that tweet, it said that this was the first acquisition. Well, this says Cosmos Protocol merger. However you want to say it. But is this the first acquisition or merger in the Cosmos? That seems.
Well, let me go on the. Wow, I don't know. Hang on.
Whatever.
Let me go on the full blurb here. So Neutron and Duality have proposed a merger of the two protocols onto Neutron. This would mean the features of Duality will be implemented on Neutron, enabling synergies between Neutron, Duality, and Astroport LPs to bring more value to Neutron and fees to the Cosmos hub. Atom maxis are seething, as this means they only get 25% of fees instead of the previously announced 100% from Duality's initial proposal. So Atom gets fucked again. Love
I'm
it.
supposed to laugh when you say that.
Hey, I don't have any atoms, so I'm good.
Me either. Yeah.
You know, I've never held Atom. Like
Me either.
everyone in this
Not
fucking
my thing.
ecosystem is an Atom maxi. I'm just like, they do nothing. Why would I
wasn't early enough for it. I just didn't. I didn't get it when I joined.
I'm like, give me that sweet shit coin, son.
Stupidly cashed out a load of Juno when Juno was higher than Atom into Atom. Wait, is it this way around?
Wait, which way did you do it?
Yeah, when Juno was higher than Atom, I cashed out Juno into Atom, but Atom was doing really well anyway, so it wasn't like a big game play. And then obviously Juno went even higher, and I was like, oh, bollocks, should have kept it there and then sold it. And then both crashed, and it just tanked the value because we held it too long, and it ended up being we had to pay tax obviously on the Juno that we held. And then when you do the trade, it's a forex trade, so you pay there's a taxable event. So we locked in that price to pay the tax on the Atom when it was super valuable, and then when we had to sell the Atom to pay the tax bill on the trade, the Atom sale like covered the tax bill. It was like nothing left or something like that. It was amazing.
I really think you need to like get a worse accountant.
You know, there probably is an element of truth to this.
Someone who maybe doesn't understand the law quite as well.
Yeah, someone who's like a little less like
a little plausible deniability situation going on, right? You need like, I don't know how that works. Let's just go with this.
Who's less detail oriented but has very good insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Got
who's
the good
well intentioned,
bit of a YOLO attitude. You know,
who has the paperwork, right? Has the certifications. Well intentioned, maybe not so much upstairs.
Yeah, maybe just like kind of like just a really people go like, but he's a really nice guy. He's a great
someone
guy.
who only understands the concept of cash basis.
Exactly.
Look, if I only understood the if you could just do all the stuff on cash basis, I mean, yeah, that would be good.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, I just
move
the
to
less
the
said
US.
about that,
Come on, baby.
The better, really.
The days are longer. It doesn't turn into fall in August. Come on over.
So
come on over. Cash-based accounting.
We have a range of like between the three of us, we have like the full range of strategies. It's like SERP is just full cash basis. I'm like cash basis plus like a trading stock type of thing, which kind of
I would rather have what you have, to be honest. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you got the same as me?
No, I would rather have what you like. That option that you run, I think, is pretty good. I'm not sure if that works here, but
and then Dr. Frey is just fucking full compliance with the most bullshit part of the law.
Paying tax on every tea bag and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like you bought that tea bag when it was worth 12 cents, but you drank it when it was worth 13 cents. So you own a fifth of a penny, you cunt.
You can fuck off.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, So obviously the company has paid shitloads of tax, YOLO, whatever. But I think even possibly because I don't really trade crypto and I don't really get paid in crypto, because work for this company. I think actually just because of the sheer cost of having a baby in any other country and the fact that it costs you nothing here, I think personally I am quids in for the last like 2 tax years, like all the prenatal care plus postnatal care plus surgery, a bunch of other shit that's gone down. Yeah, I think we must be seriously quids in on that. So swings and roundabouts, right? Although the reality is in this country right now, if you're paying taxes, you're actually paying taxes for Starbucks and Amazon to not pay fucking tax, and the government to plug the hole of Brexit where they fuck the economy. So there's actually no point in paying taxes because the NHS isn't going to get the money. It's going to go to fucking 6-toed pony fucking aristocrats, bad decisions, paying off the bill on that. So fucking great one. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, like I definitely feel like I could do better with my tax money than what the government can. The only thing is that like, to effectively like help the country in in some sort of capacity through public goods, which is kind of what tax is for. Like I would have to go and form a coalition with all of my neighbors or something to all, form a local DAO.
So
And
form
like
a real life
coins.
DAO,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Which I think we
throw
call
in
the
some
government.
coin to like, fucking fill the potholes and shit. It'd be kind of annoying. It sounds time consuming. I'd rather pay the government.
Yeah, very quickly you end up with kind of anarcho-syndicalism, and then you end up with the government, and then you're like, well, we're back to square one. The universe brain play is probably actually to just go into politics, and then you become the house, right? House always wins. Just become a house.
Or launch a chain.
Or launch a chain, and then you go directly to prison. You just speed run going to prison. That is actually one of those things that was in this country anyway. Boys will be boys, very boys will be boys, until about a few months ago. And we mentioned on the podcast last week, there's a regulation change happening in the UK. My understanding is that would mean as of the 3rd of October, it's no longer boys will be boys. It's pay the £10,000 to be regulated, plus do all your paperwork, or you go to prison for 2 years. So I think it has literally become
for what
to prison
for launching some sort of security type of structure on a blockchain.
Crucially, marketing actually, I think, is where they get you.
What? Oh, marketing for what? For investment.
So you represent the asset. I think it's the representation, like the marketing of the asset. Which, bear in mind, my understanding. I'm not a lawyer. Go and get a lawyer, regulation lawyer, if you are in the UK and then you think this affects you. I think the definition for marketing is quite broad. Like if you're like, I am launching a chain, that could be construed as marketing. That's my understanding if you say it publicly. So who knows? Fuck it.
This I'll put a link.
NFTs aren't covered though. NFTs aren't covered. Mint all the NFTs you fucking like. I'm not a lawyer. Definitely double check that before you start an NFT project in the UK.
Because I'm gonna hold comment on that. This draft, I'll link a show notes of this duality protocol merger document or forum, I guess, on the neutron.org forums. This thing reads like a fucking. This is a 3-legged race situation. There was a Dan Lyons, who was a reporter in the U.S., famously back in the early 2000s, started a blog where it was called Fake Steve Jobs. I don't know if you guys heard about this. This might be before your time a little bit. But there was when Steve came back to Apple, and it was like kind of the early days of the iPod and like the growth and like whatever. He started this Fake Steve Jobs blog, which is hilarious. Like just kind of like, fuck all this and blah, blah, blah. I'm on a mission, all this type of stuff. And he wrote, there's this famous article, I'll link it as well, which I think is still on the web actually, around this 3-legged race when I think Microsoft was talking about buying, I think when they were talking about buying BlackBerry. So back in the early days when after iPhone was taking off, and BlackBerry was getting crushed and Microsoft had no fucking idea what was going on. Ballmer was shitting on the iPhone about not having keys and all this type of stuff, right? In the early like 2007, 2008 days. And then there's a rumor that Microsoft, I think, was going to buy BlackBerry, or no, I'm sorry. It was Microsoft was going to buy. That's right. Ballmer they were going to buy Yahoo. That's right. That's what it was. It was going to buy Yahoo because they had no like internet structure and they were like worried about like all this type of stuff related to email accounts and all those type of things. And there's a great three-legged. And so Dan Lyons, as posting as like a fake Steve Jobs, wrote this type of thing around when two losers get together. And when they're getting beaten by something else, or they're getting beat by the market, they're getting beat by a third party or a competitor, they start buying each other to try to like whatever. And it's called like the three-legged race, where like you tie this other shit to you and you keep tying more shit to you because you're just pushing off the inevitable that there's no value here, but you keep buying things to be able to show the shareholders and show other people that there's something. Hey, there's something here. Like we're doing shit. Like, look at us. Like we're making some case. And this duality proposal reads 100% like a three-legged race. Like it totally has that same type of like tone to it. So anyway, it looks
every
so
time I
good
hear
that,
duality, I just think Slipknot. I literally can't.
is that an album? I don't know Slipknot very well.
They weren't my thing growing up, but like,
Yeah,
you know, you hit a certain age and you're just like, sometimes I want to go to a metal night at a club and just get pissed and just listen to loud guitar music, right? And you
Yeah.
have to lower your standards a bit because it has to be mainstream enough that everybody who owns a black t-shirt in the metropolitan area you live closest to will recognize that song immediately. So it's like, you know, it's, to be fair, actually, I was about to say it's like fucking Chop Suey by System of a Down, but actually that's a fucking smashing song, massive banger. But it has to be like that, like, you know, so there's, you know, Slipknot is kind of par for the course as soon as you hit that kind of, you know, you go to one of those nights a few times a year, or go to the silent disco at a festival where they're playing, where there's a rock channel, you know, again. This is really niche. I feel like I've alienated both of you with the idea of going to a rock night.
As soon as you said Slipknot, I kind of
go to fucking silent disco at a festival. It's just like, number one, the festival part. Number two, the silent disco part. It's just like this ain't it, Chief, is what I saw.
Nell's got really nice light. You have a nice light on you right now.
Golden hour, baby.
Late morning. It's like early golden hour.
Yeah, it's like a reflection of light off some dirty tiles hitting a dirty window, bouncing off a dirty
You
mirror.
kind of ruined it there, but yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just
It's really
Are we
creative.
done with the news? Is that it?
It's creating a
So
movie.
there's a couple of other bits and pieces that
Fuck all this.
yeah, well, fuck all this. But so I gather, because we've been trying to obviously pay our invoices this week as a DAO, because we're a DAO now.
We are
GON GON DAO.
Yeah.
Gonad DAO.
Yeah. Kind of
Gonad DAO. Yeah, exactly. Gonad DAO.
That's how I've been saying it. Yeah.
Just gotta say it very quickly. We've been trying to pay our invoices, and having admittedly, well, we've got our multi-chain account set up on Osmosis now, so we can try and actually get some stable coins into our DAO in order to
actually. I think
pay.
we have 7 days until that happens. But
No, I executed it during this show.
Wait, oh, you did execute it.
Boom.
How the fuck did you do that?
Just I see into the matrix. I am
Jake to do it. Oh, we do have an Osmo address. Oh, it's Axel USDC. All right.
Wait, does this mean I have to use Axelar?
Or at least something else that turns into Axel. So it's USDC
Can we
on
buy
Juno.
it on Osmosis?
Yeah. But it's USDC on Juno. Where the fuck does that come from then? But it's Axel USDC on Osmosis. I don't understand.
Here's the situation.
Okay.
Here's the situation.
Either way.
Right. I don't know how business accounts work in the States, right? But in the UK, right, you get an app on your phone and you can just send international payments as a business from your phone. You just get their IBAN number, you send it. It takes about 2 minutes, right? And then it gets automatically sent in the bank feed to my accountants, to the company accountants, right?
Fuck
And
that. Let's do it the Web3 way. We have to wait a week.
So this entire process, I am just like, if somebody can provide even a one-liner invoice, it can be done within 10 minutes, and then all I have to do as the CTO of a very small company, God, it's ridiculous when you're like, you know when you have an early career thing where you go and interview for a job and you're like, this job title sounds really senior. I don't know why this job title sounds so senior, and you find out there's like 3 technical people in the entire company, and they're just like, yeah, holy fuck, this place is fucked. And you're like, that's why they're interviewing a senior engineer and they don't know what that is. Anyway, whatever. You just have to go do like the clearance of the payments at the end of the month. So the whole process is probably 4 to 5 minutes worth of work, right, to send a Swift payment. So already the USDC and DAO thing is a little bit of overhead in order to do a payment, I would say. But it is the future. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We believe in the glorious DAO future.
I don't know how the fuck to do it.
I honestly
have no idea what's going
clue.
So we have there's an Axel. So we have an Osmo address. That Osmo address is the address of the DAO, right? Okay, that makes sense. So I have a deposit. So there's a deposit UI to be able to deposit Axel USDC. But I'm adding myself as the. I guess this makes sense actually. So I'm adding myself as my. Yeah. Okay, I'm joining from that. So if I get Axel USDC on this address, I should be able to send it. Okay.
The real pain in the ass is that you have to send it to the other address. Is the fucking.
But how does?
Well, I would use a deposit. I would use a token deposit from the webpage, right?
Like you can't use the deposit. Like you have like I'm sure you can send it to the address directly, but using the deposit on the page, it looks like it actually has to be in your account. That is
correct.
Your account that's on the DAO. Like, why can't it just be whatever the fucking wallet is that you've got open in Kepler at the
time? Because it wouldn't know who to assign it to, right? Because I assume.
Why does it have to assign it to someone? It goes into the DAO. It's not Null's coins in the DAO. It's the DAO.
You're probably right. It probably doesn't matter. You're probably right. It probably doesn't matter.
Abstract that away. Abstraction.
Throw $1,000 in there and see what happens. The bigger issue is I don't have $1,000 on anything related to Cosmos.
I was thinking that as well. Like as a company, it's either staked or everything is in currency that we can pay, because Jeff Bezos does not fucking accept Juno.
How is that? That's unbelievable.
I know.
How much do
Where the fuck are we?
Who's Jimmy Smallballs? How much do we need to put in?
It's you, isn't it?
No, it's not me.
If you have to ask who Jimmy Smallballs,
dude, it fucking has to be, because I know
you're Jimmy Smallballs.
Am I? I thought it must be Schultzy.
No, because Schultzy, I wasn't sure who it was, and then I saw Jimmy Smallballs vote on the. Oh, you're right. No, the non-Jimmy Smallballs voted on the proposal, which I thought was Schultzy, which means the only one that left was you. Are you sure it's not? Who's Jimmy Smallballs?
Look, I don't see the Osmosis address in the treasury anymore. This is all very hard. Okay, it's back. All right, I'm just going to copy that address. Here we go. I'm going to send $1 and see what happens. Let's do this. How much were we putting into the?
825 USD.
825.
Yeah,
825 USD.
Correct. Okay. Which is
so everybody listening back later, the title of this podcast was Game of Nodes Pay Their Invoices. It should have been
we're
Game of Nodes Pay Their Invoices or your money back, because
it should have been
we advertise
Game
content,
of Nodes,
we deliver that content, right? We're not like one of these bullshit projects that just endlessly. Okay, granted, let's not talk about the t-shirts and the merch.
We did say we're going to pay this a week ago.
We do not talk about the Game of Nodes merch. I thought we were making a Go Mod Tidy t-shirt. That didn't happen.
Okay, so that was relatively painless, and it has come up as a USDC, not an Axelar USDC. So I don't know how all that works.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, it showed us another. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so that wasn't the only tokens that could be deposited there. It just.
So did you just buy them on Osmosis and then send them to the DAO?
I already had some in the King Nodes treasury.
So that is okay. All right, cool. All right, I just got to figure out where I'm going to pull a grant from. But
So in
we're
order
on
to get money into how do you get money into crypto?
you don't. You only take money away from crypto.
Well,
That's
yeah,
rule
but
number
in
one.
the event that you need to pay an $825 bill and you need 800, I mean, we could unbond some of our validators and it wouldn't add up to $825. So,
Oh, so that's USDC on Ethereum.
Kraken, like, you could buy buy Atom on Kraken, send it to Osmosis, and then that's probably the easiest way, isn't it?
That's so weird that it showed up as USDC because it has to be actually USDC, right?
Does it? Isn't there native USDC floating around now?
Is that through not through Neutron, through the other one, right?
Look, maybe they've just maybe in the map for the denoms they've just fucked it up. I don't know.
No, because on Osmosis, actually, I see USDC. I see USDC slash Ethereum. I don't see actually USDC anymore in this list, which is really weird.
Do Osmosis use a different USDC?
Well, maybe now it's native.
But wait, what the fuck does native mean in this context?
Well, what the fuck is it? What chain?
Natively issued.
It's native.
Natively issued.
Natively issued through what
USDC?
Why can't I think of what the fuck are we talking about? What chain are we talking about here?
So Noble. there's native USDC all over the place, right? On a bunch of different networks, and that is just issued and redeemable.
All right.
By Circle.
Robert and Ben say it's all actually USDC. It's just abstracted the bridge away. So basically, it's USDC, regardless of what bridge is involved within that.
Well, why does it say?
Ben, this is, for fuck's sake, I hate you. Listen.
There's an easy solution, right? Okay, so you're in the UK, Ben.
Listen,
I can tell you the whole of the thick of it is back on BBC iPlayer. There's an easy solution. You can turn off this podcast and go watch the Rise of the Nutters episode or Spinners and Losers. Classic 1-2. Two of the finest pieces of British comedy ever written on BBC iPlayer, free to all British residents or anybody with a VPN. So,
to be honest, this is the best Giminos comment we've ever had.
It's very relatable, actually. It's very, even as a panelist, it's
fucking good.
Incredibly relatable. So
I feel like Ben Davis has a punching bag in his viewing room with like the little
viewing
logo.
Room. He has a whole viewing room,
viewing room for a Game of Nodes
on a Wednesday evening.
Yeah, he's got that logo for Game of Nodes on his. It's stitched intricately stitched into his punching bag. Just, fuck you idiots!
You know, as an aside, we should actually put more than $825 into the DAO, and we should actually print t-shirts. We should print the t-shirts.
It's too late. It's too late. I've done it.
Okay, fine. Well, we screwed that up.
I'm practically bankrupt now, so
yeah. I mean, that's
I see 825
the next 2 years.
So it doesn't show where that came from, though, right? It does not. But I can send it. Oh, okay. So I can send it from anywhere, though. All right.
Related to this, in a final piece of news, the DAO UI is going to go open source again.
Why?
Well, me. I thought you might have some thoughts on whether or not that was a good idea.
Why is it going open source? Why?
My understanding is because obviously they already open sourced it in the past, so there are some old versions floating around, and one, they want to get more contributors, and it's easier when it's open source, and especially to patch minor issues and stuff. And two, to grow after grant funding from other chains. So what they call Neutron already used DAO, right? They've got all the contracts. And there's that one on Terra, which is also a DAO clone, isn't it? I don't know if the plan is to go after funding from everybody, but like I think Archway also maybe use DAO or have it, obviously, because contracts are open source. So I think it's about getting funding. from other chains.
Like I understand this very well, but so we're talking about the future of Juno and this project and DAO and the idea of decentralized autonomous organizations is a huge output of Juno, right? So if this goes open source and all these chains can use it, then what is the role of DAO on Juno? What's the role of DAO Zone? Is it just a single instance of this idea and everyone can use the idea? And so you're saving on hosting and like costs associated with that?
Cross-chain
Or-
DAOs, I guess.
So, but that, if that exists today, right? We create an osmosis address and that will go to other types of
Yep.
chains, right? So if I'm open sourcing it and we're getting grants to pay developers, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm just asking a real question. Like, so I understand the need to pay people and to be able to survive. I clearly understand that. So is this a hey, we'd like to have it work a different way, but we can't because the market is shit, and so therefore we need cash, so that we're going to open source it to be able to yada yada? Or is this a strategic type structure to be able to do this? Because I don't understand it. Like if DAO can't be used, like this website and what we're doing here today with this our inability to figure this out to pay bills, but if this can't be used across the Cosmos ecosystem or across IBC, right? And if it's just open source and anybody can use it, then what's the point of this? I honestly don't know. Like, do you guys know the answer to that?
What's the point of which?
Of DAO? Like, if it's a frame, is it a framework or is it a solution? Because if it's a framework that anyone can use and anyone can be able to bring it to their own chain, then okay, that's a framework. Then that team gets paid based on other teams using it as a framework. And there's no structure.
I mean, it's just the same. I guess it's the same funding. If you open source the front end, then the funding model becomes fundamentally the same as every piece of Web2 open source software where you are begging people for money.
Then it's a framework, right? Like I'm building a framework that I'm asking for people who use the framework to be able to contribute back to the framework, right? So if it's a framework, then Juno's future as a home of DAO makes no sense, right? Because then it's not a solution. It's not a solution that all these chains are using, right? This is like DAO is a solution. Like the solution exists on this chain that like we're using right now, right? Like we're using Juno. We have to have Juno be able to do this. But if it's a framework that anybody can use, then what's the value of DAO itself, like as a site that's hosted on Juno? And then what is the value of Juno associated with that?
Well, I think the reality is, as soon as the front end is open source, the idea that there's any direct tie to Juno is factually incorrect,
right? But we talked about before, like a while ago, was that the future of Juno was DAO, right? Like that was one of the core tenets to say that we want to make sure that like the idea of decentralized governance is extremely important. This is the best tool set that's out there, which we all agree, right? It exists. And so this was like the one of the huge carrots that we could use from a Juno perspective to say, hey, across IBC, and as IBC grows across other ecosystems and all this type of stuff, that DAO is a home for that. But if that's all open source and like it can just give it away and then we're getting grants for it, then basically we're trading the project for the chain. So the project receives revenue associated. I'm just trying to figure it out. So the project receives revenue for that because they've done the work, but the chain basically loses value because anybody can use it, right? Or no?
Yeah. So I think there's two things there. Like one is obviously Juno's entire model was protocols come here, protocols eventually move on, right? And then the chain has more protocols. However, Juno has singularly failed to attract protocols to it.
Yes.
Like that's been a complete failure. Let's be honest. Like viable protocols.
It's been challenging. Yes.
Almost none. So, but things that do exist in the future. So there are some things obviously for DAO that are going to happen on Juno. A lot of the stuff that's in Juno Evo is still planned, which is essentially, all the stuff around hooks, governance moving to DAO. all that stuff, which is like first in the Cosmos ecosystem.
Mhm.
The issue, I think, you would have, which is the question of like what benefit, like, so it means that Juno has like governance that is better than anywhere else in the ecosystem. But if Juno is losing its fundamental value proposition, then why do people want to participate in governance for something that becomes valueless? It is like, I think it is a little bit of there is a lot of attention there. And the other problem you have, I think, is that the implementation of it, Juno is fundamentally open source, right? So all of the hooks and all the stuff that will be built for Juno,
Mhm.
can just be lifted and shifted to another chain that already has DAO, and then they have the same tech as Juno again. So, look, with my big brain hat on, and stepping away for a minute from somebody who's been involved in Juno since way before Genesis, has a lot of skin in the game. But take a step back from all of that and say, like, okay, complete bystander view, is that a good outcome? And I actually, spicy take, would say it is a good outcome to have DAO open source, potentially even the UI, and have all the work for Juno Evo done open source. That is really good for DAO tooling. It's really good for the Cosmos. And it's really, really good for DAO with a caveat. So the best thing for DAO would actually be to work out, a full product model and become self-sustaining, right? Use tokenomics to their advantage, become fully self-sustaining.
Yeah.
We're in an ecosystem. We're in a world where we can build economic incentive systems, right? That's the novel thing about crypto. Do that rather than going after grant money or whatever. And I know there's a bunch of stuff that DAO are doing around token swaps and all this other stuff. There's a bunch of different avenues for funding that are possible. I'm not like just shitting on them, because I know they are doing a bunch of different things. So
Yeah.
with that caveat, like, but for DAO, like, if they're not going to do the product thing, then this makes sense for them. It is the right decision to go and look for the grant funding to do the open source thing. So I think there's two interesting things there. Like, this may well be the right decision for DAO. It's almost certainly, like, with a kind of squinty way, the best thing for the Cosmos ecosystem, and it's almost definitely the best thing for DAO tooling, right? Just to get
Yes.
good DAO tooling out there and let anybody use it. However, is it bad for Juno? Yes.
Right. That was my point,
who is
right?
left holding the bag?
Who's left in, because
Juno bag holders.
Correct. They're left holding the bag of there's a great loss of revenue, or there's a great loss of value to be able to create a product that will benefit others and the team, but not necessarily the people who created the opportunity.
So that's not entirely true, because what's good for DAO is actually still good for Juno, in that Juno has a lot of DAO token in the treasury. So if they can actually
but they're moving to a funding model that is potentially orthogonal to the DAO token.
So what I was going to say is, if they can make the DAO token successful, then that is a success for Juno in itself.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, it's a multi-pronged problem.
Well, there's also an argument, like, to add to your point, Noel, about the success of the token. Even if the token isn't a success, actually, the success of the protocol and moving on is a project success, like in terms of adoption for Juno. And you could say, well, look, this project was incubated, developed with grant money, has moved on from Juno, has become bigger, is now core to the interchain, is used across the interchain, is used on this chain, that chain, and the other chain, because it interchain DAOs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And projects looking to find a chain where they can get that funding and then move on or whatever will go, okay, cool, I can use Juno. And maybe one of those other projects will have a better mechanism for returning value to Juno stakers. However, you are then in a weird situation where essentially, like, the core chain infrastructure, right? So the Juno security of the chain, which is from Juno stakers, they are relying on the charity of the projects on the chain to see a return themselves of value. Now, that has always been the case, actually, when you kind of think about it. It's always the case that without protocols, the token is worthless. And so they've always been in that position. But this just, I guess, makes that very explicit. And it's maybe a uncomfortable situation to be in, potentially. I don't know. I think it's a complicated question, really. This
Too
So
complicated for this show.
I think that no matter what DAO do with open sourcing, etc., I think that like the latest and the greatest features will probably always ship on Juno first. And I think there's a good opportunity, even if it is open sourced, for other projects to contract DAO team to have outposts, like native outposts on their own chains of DAO, which I think would like help it proliferate in the ecosystem as well. But I mean, they just have to be a little bit smart about how they do that and what they actually, you can open source it, but you don't have to open source like all of the branches, right? You can have like a development branch which has better features and just not have that open sourced and only have like an LTS or something that's open sourced. But I think the way it stands at the moment, they're never going to get a foothold in anything just by being on Juno. Because I mean, as much as I still like Juno's just slandered the fuck out of all over the place. Yeah. And you have to be present elsewhere if you want to get the brand out there and be recognized. But at the same time, you can still help Juno get a leg up by keeping your core features or your the next features always release on Juno first and have like the main base of DAO still on Juno, but abstract everything else away anyway, so that the outposts work seamlessly. So
I guess my fundamental question is maybe more about Juno than it is about DAO in some ways, which is that if there aren't more protocols on Juno back in the first place, like Juno doesn't need a lot of the advanced governance features, and people's DAOs, let's be real, if and when DAO goes fully just super interchain, right? A lot of that work, that heavy lifting, is going to be on other chains, and a lot of the transactions are going to be in either natives on other chains, or they're going to be in USDC or something similar, right? So it is that thing of like, although technically it will live on Juno, that doesn't matter. But I guess that's the interchain mesh security type world, right? Moving forward, the chains themselves are going to matter a little bit less, but I guess it strikes more to the heart of like, what is the USP of Juno, right?
Juno could never be successful with just DAO on its own anyway. The only path to success for Juno is to make a friendly, full-featured development environment for teams to want to build here. And the whole incentivized environment, I think, is bullshit. And you're never going to get like quality projects by having incentivization to come and build on your chain. I think like people have to want to build it, and you have to provide an environment that makes people want to build it. And if you can attract people that way, you might be successful. But you have to have like a very friendly environment with all of the resources that you need, as well as like all of the latest features, and always be on top of those features. Everything that's the latest in the ecosystem, you have to support. And if you can have that, and then for some stroke of luck, teams want to come and build here, then it could potentially be successful. Otherwise, it's probably fucked anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what DAO does, it's fucking DAO's good and all, but it's never going to be the sole road to success of Juno.
But I don't want to shit on this conversation, but I can't find a way to send Null's $825 out via proposal.
You do a new proposal and send? No?
All I can see is the Juno side. I can't see the Osmosis side.
Don't you just tick the box? So you go to like actions, and then you tick the radio button for Osmosis, and it should give you the...
I see proposal. I see spend. I can see the Juno and USDC associated to Juno. I'm trying to figure out how to get to being able to send an action from the osmosis chain.
Maybe.
I'm hoping that 825 is locked up forever. Is really kind of what I'm thinking about. But
So
before I said 825, I just want to make sure.
So like a final, let's do a final cheery question. Like,
Yeah.
So I think we've covered like, wait and see on the DAO Juno thing, but how so? Because obviously we're primarily engaged in the Cosmos ecosystem, although all of us do, all of our companies are active in other ecosystems. Like how, in the context of where we are currently, we're still deep in the bear. It's not getting better anytime soon. Like I put this in the spreadsheet as a discussion point as, are any of us GMI? But I think like it's actually partly it's putting on this t-shirt that made me think about like the amount of work a team like Artifact do on marketing, promotions, outreach to new protocols, research and new protocols. Like it's a multi-person just on the research and marketing and hand pressing and conferences and whatever. It's a really big coordinated effort to stay on top of
it's work.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of work to do that sort of stuff. And I guess I have this niggling feeling at the moment with like how we've ended up in these ecosystems that we have as much by luck because of as by judgment. And I think that's probably true of a lot of devs, a lot of even like investors, whatever. Like how repeatable is what we do as a business? Like I'm thinking about this purely in a business strategy perspective. We've just done our tax return for the end of the year. Boom, tax mention again, drink. And we're getting these questions like, oh, what's your forecast for next year? What are your business initiatives? What are your plans? From the finance guys. And you go like, well, any of the stuff we've done in the last 3 years as a business, I don't know how you could pull off again, even if we put in the work that Artifact do. Even they don't always manage to find repeatable,
of course,
success in this space.
Yeah, no. You kiss 1,000 frogs, right?
Yeah,
you do. We talked about it before. Like you have to kiss a lot of frogs to actually like to build something and turn into a prince. Like you really do. Like, and you're right. Like half of it is hard work and being in the right place at the right time. There's two different things. One is who you know. I think makes a big difference, right? And your reputation.
Who you up to?
Who you up to? Like, and your reputation makes a big difference within that, and your ability to execute makes a big difference on that. And then there's just a huge piece of luck, and there's a huge piece of luck in every part of business, right? Like, that's not related to crypto, but I think within crypto, either you're placing bets on everything, which I think is probably the wrong. I think in long term, I think that's the wrong strategy, or you are lucky enough to find and get into the right groove of either projects or owners that have the right that basically change the percentage of success versus failure, right? And like we put a lot of money into projects, but we invest in teams, not outcome. Like we don't invest in projects, we invest in teams. Like we look at who's involved in that, what their history is. Do they have an like their history, not in Web3 business, but just like their ability to be able to run and execute on engagements and be able to deliver something. And if they have success in that in the past, or if they have history of that in the past, that kind of you use that as a way to determine whether there's something in the future. But it's still like, but even if you had like a great visibility to all of that, and you had a good understanding of those teams, you had the right introductions, the percentage of success is still like, it's still a crapshoot, right? Because you don't really know what's gonna make it and what's not gonna make it.
I suppose it's just like you look at the traditional like model of like what we might do as small tech companies, right? And you could look at, oh, we're going to pitch for 8 projects, like going back to like pure project work, like engineering work, infrastructure work. Like we're going to pitch 8 projects, 10 projects to clients, and you can kind of come up with, okay, well, we'll get 2 of them, we'll get 1 to 2 of them, it will bring in this amount, it'll be at this P&L. There's some element of predictability, even though it's not de-risked, right? Mm-hmm. And I get this is the argument for doing infra, I suppose, rather than just pure validation, right? Is it's closer to that sort of model. But it's the all or nothing nature of the winners or losers, I think, which is the interesting part of this, because it's just, it adds that extra variable that takes it from normal business to being something completely unknowable.
Unknowable?